You're about to enjoy a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands.
Have you ever felt that you as a woman may not appear to measure up when you see incredible women in strong roles? You may be surprised when hearing from women in these positions and how we all share many of the same challenges. Thank you for joining us for the CEO Leading In podcast with Rebecca Jones as we share the journeys of women.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Jones, your host of CEO. We are on an exploration together to discover more about personal journeys of incredible women in both career and life. We all have paths to share that sometimes take incredible turns, deep resilience, and courage to navigate. My hopes are that the challenges shared here encourage women to take leaps of faith and growth when a journey feels too difficult or unachievable. There is great strength deep within each one of us. These stories are meant to share the ways strong women have taken their dreams to strive and thrive to new heights, despite their sometimes rocky paths, and found a way to lead in. So today we are here with Jennifer Barnes with Optima Office. And Jennifer, thank you for joining us. Could you tell us a little bit about what each day looks like for you? And sometimes that could be very different from day to day.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. You know, that's an interesting question. I hadn't really thought about it being a consistent day. I think no day is really predictable. Every day there's a bit of pivots that you have to deal with. And, you know, I like being busy. So I typically, though, wake up in the morning and I work out. And I don't get to the office until about 11. My team, if I get there before 11, they wonder, what's going on? Why are you here so early? And then I generally stay at the office until about 7:30, go home, make dinner with the husband, and then I get back on my laptop, and I usually work till about 11 or so, and rinse and repeat. But I sleep 8 hours a night, and so I think it's about taking care of yourself. And you know, I don't work on the weekends either. So I generally, unless I'm absolutely buried, do I take my personal time and I, do work stuff. So it's a good work-life balance.
That's awesome. So when did you start the company? And tell me how that went.
I've had an interesting journey. I started my first company in 2012. It was a very... I don't want to say the word interesting again, but it was a very interesting story on to how I got started in my first company. I was working as a consultant, as a controller at another organization. It's very similar to ours. And I ended up getting fired because I was not doing exactly the way that they wanted to do things. And I was kind of doing Jennifer's way of doing things. And they said, well, if you want to do things your way, you should just go work for yourself. And to their surprise, most of my clients and the staff that worked under me came with me. And so here I was starting out a business in my living room in 2012. It was 6 weeks before my wedding.
Oh, God.
Kind of a crazy point in time.
Wow.
And then I built that business over 6 years to about close to 90 employees, about $6 million in revenue. And then I had a crazy surprise in September of 2018. The two older men partners that I had thought that they didn't need me anymore. So they did a hostile takeover of the company, kicked me out. And I fought really hard. And we did a big litigation. But 3 days later, after they kicked me out, I started Optima. And 25 employees came with me. Bunch of clients came with me. I moved in right across the street from them 3 weeks later. I won all my no non-competes against them. And so here we are. Optima is on year 3. And we have about 75 employees currently. Should do a little over $6 million in revenue our third year in business. And so it was all a huge blessing. But it was definitely a wild ride to get to where I'm at right this minute.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because a lot of women think, okay, I have a setback. Now I'm going to have to, kind of cower back and shrink back and not try something even more outrageous to move forward. And that is, I think, one of our biggest obstacles as women is we're our own critics. We are terrible to ourselves. We often feel inadequate in many ways, and we have a hard time overcoming that. So, wow, that is quite the story. I didn't even know that about you. So that is fabulous. And so what are they saying now, your old partners?
You know what? I don't know, and I don't care.
Better. Yeah. Yeah.
We're Optima is larger now than my first company is. And I own 100% of the company. And we moved in December to just under 4,000 square foot office space. Has a huge conference room, 2 balconies. I had a staff meeting on Monday, and we had 35 people in person, another 20 people on Zoom. And it's like you see your success. It's not that you, it's like I physically saw the success. I saw these wonderful people sitting there and ran the staff meeting and had amazing executives on my management team helping me run the staff meeting. And I looked out into this large conference room and I thought, wow, I did it.
Right.
It was like seeing it firsthand, just that I've always wanted a large conference room where I could hold big events. And it took 9 years to get to that point. And honestly, if I was still with the first company and the 2 partners, they collectively owned 55%. I owned 45%. That's a whole nother story. There's actually a Forbes article about it called 3 Ways to Prevail as a Female Entrepreneur. So that's a whole nother story. But, I think that things work out the way that they're supposed to. And I'm better off now on my own.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because I actually just was talking to a gentleman that owns a development company, and he's like, the worst thing is when you have partners and you're the creative one and you don't have that equity that's a little bit more than everyone else, and then you literally don't get to do all the things that you want to do. And then he said, I will never, ever have partners that have a bigger stake than me again, because it just really changes things.
That was one of my biggest learning lessons, is really focus on equity. Don't just give it away. And strategically, in 10 years, are you still going to want to be their partner? Do you want them to have some kind of a hold over you? Even a 10% partner, if your business grows from 1 million to 20 million and somebody owns 10%, what if they want out? Or what if something happens? And what if your business is worth 20 million? You have to pull out $2 million cash just to buy that one person out. And so equity can get very complicated. When I first started the business, I did partner with somebody. We were 50-50, which I don't really recommend 50-50. I think somebody needs to have the 51-49.
Right. Yeah.
And then we made the silly decision to give another man 10%. So we each gave up 5. And so that's when I got myself into that 45% equity position. But I had brought in, I think we did 21 million in the time that 6 years I was there. I probably brought in 16, 17 million of it. I was a rainmaker and got kicked out by the 2 old grumpy, greedy men.
That's a bummer.
It worked out great.
But you're right. And
Yeah.
back to what you said earlier, it ended up being the right path. And, sometimes it's hard to see when something is devastating. I mean, I'm sure it felt devastating that first moment where you were like, wait, what? What just happened? But then, you regrouped quickly might I add, and, just thought.
Took 3 days.
Yeah, 3 days. That's what I'm saying. 72 hours. My gosh. That's like did you want to change your mind on buying the car? I mean, 72 hours and you were back and now you're bigger than ever. You've got all of these folks working with you. You're just smashing it. You've made it through a pandemic. We
were essential, right?
Yeah.
So during the pandemic, accounting, HR,
Yeah.
bookkeeping. One thing that people didn't think about during the pandemic is who goes to the office and picks up the mail, opens the checks, scans them in, takes them to the bank, puts them into QuickBooks, so there's actually a physical mail problem with a lot of businesses, is who's actually willing to go to we service 200 clients currently, a little over that, who's going to go to all these businesses and make sure the checks were deposited and payroll was done.
Oh
so
my
we
gosh.
were essential, and the hardest thing was kind of navigating all the technology, and it was a lot of communication and just making sure your team didn't feel like they were in the dark. So I did twice weekly staff meetings in the beginning, and then we went to once a week and then every other week. And so it's just comforting people. I think it's really building a team. It's letting them know that you care and that you're willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that they are safe and secure and that somebody believes in them and somebody's going to take care of them. So.
Yeah. Well, and that's, that leadership style, I think, tends to be more fluid with women and easier.
Yeah.
And I think people always need to feel like they have a place and someone cares and we're all in this together. I mean, there was a lot of discussion of people saying, oh, we're in this together, but then their actions would be completely different than that. And so I think, during a pandemic, you really, I think, and I've said this a million times, true leaders rise during a pandemic. And leaders are going to start or maybe continue their path of upward trajectory during tough times. And I think you've absolutely done that. So I want to ask you a little bit about yourself personally, Jennifer.
Sure.
So tell me, do you have a word, just one word, that you think really covers and tells the story of who you are?
If I had to pick just one, because that's tough.
It is.
I'm going to go with optimistic.
That's good.
Because under optimistic, the glass is half full. I'm a very happy, positive person. I believe in taking care of others and doing the right thing and being a good person. So just happy and optimistic.
That's good because those optimistic people affect others with their optimism and their sunshine, as I like to say. There's always got to be enough sunshine, and we live here in beautiful San Diego County. There's a lot of sunshine, but, it's been tough times. A lot of people are feeling very discouraged, and I think the optimism is something that really resonates with everyone, no matter what they're doing.
You have to find the bright side.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Silver lining. With every closed door, there's another opportunity, and what do you make? How do you move forward?
Yeah.
I'm just not a backwards-looking person. Okay, what did I learn from that? What's the solution? Okay, moving on. Let's go.
Right.
And that's why I named the company Optima. I had 3 days to think of a name.
Oh,
I was
gosh.
incorporated as an S corporation that following Monday. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to come up with a name. So I said Optima. You know why? Because the optimal accounting team, we're very optimistic. So that was how I came up with the name.
Oh, I think it does fit you. And what's interesting is when you said that, I went, I wonder if it has something to do with the name of the company, and I guess it does. Well, and you know what? I think you exude that too. I mean, you're very upbeat. I mean, some people, honestly, going through that same circumstance would just feel crushed and not know how to get back on their feet, not figure out. It would take some time and some effort. It seems
and risk
like,
and money and.
Right?
Oh, it was devastating, all right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty horrible, the whole situation. But about 6 months in, it took me to kind of, okay, we're winning this thing. We're making this happen.
I can breathe again.
Yeah, we actually did a final settlement, and they had to buy out all my shares and whatnot in April of 2020, right when the pandemic started.
Wow.
So that was awfully stressful. But it's been a little over a year now, and I have a sense of calm and peace and steadiness about me that I had never really had before. So,
well, that's because you're in charge. That's because you don't have anyone that is controlling you as far as, a major share of the company.
Yep.
You don't have you're reporting to yourself.
I love it.
It's a big deal.
Well, I'm unemployable.
Yeah.
I pretty much have to work for myself. And in terms of having partners, it's not that I wouldn't give away a little bit of equity, but it would really have to be to the right people and for really good reasons.
That you can trust.
People that I can trust and have a very, very good buy-sell agreement. I'd recommend anybody getting into business, especially with partners. One of the first things you have to do is get a buy-sell agreement in place.
Yeah, definitely. So balance, it sounds like you work out every day. You have figured that all out. So do you have children? Talk about that a little bit, how you balance all of those duties.
I think I'm able to balance it even better because I do not have any children or pets. That's not something that could be long-term. I will be 42 on Saturday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And my husband, after we've been together about 14 years, he is now thinking he wants to be a dad. And so I said, well, give me the rest of 2021. Let me finish 3 years of the business. We're finishing up, just building some major infrastructure things. And so starting later this year, early next, I might try to give it a shot. But my mom's a fraternal twin.
Oh, wow.
And the doctor basically said I have close to a 40% chance of having fraternal twins because I'm over 40. And there's some other factors in there, including genetics. And so they said, yeah, you might be prepared for a set of twins. I said, okay, well, I just get a twofer.
Right.
Get a 2 for 1, I'll be done.
Get it over with.
Get it over with. So that's possible. But, I think the real key to a work-life balance is focusing on yourself and not trying to do too much. I am a delegation queen. What can I delegate? How fast can I delegate it? And who is the best person to do it? I really stay at my level. I don't get into the weeds. I don't stay into the details. I hire the best people and trust them to do their job.
Well, and that's not easy because if you are
a control freak, I am a bit of a control freak. Well, but it depends on what it is about.
but having the wisdom to see that, you know what, I can't do that. I want to do that, but I can't do that because I don't have the bandwidth. Is I think a really important part of all of this. I don't have any staff, so I always tell people my life is like drinking out of a fire hose most of the time.
Yeah.
And so if I have small things, and it's grace for yourself too, because you can't be all things to all people.
Right.
You can't. It's not possible. And I think as a leader, you have to give yourself some grace.
And you need to learn to say when to say no.
Yes.
No, I apologize. I can't right now. Let's discuss in 3 months. It's who else can get involved. Because I'm a very pleasing, very nurturing person. I like to take care of people. And so my initial response is always, oh, sure, I'll meet with you. Oh, yes, of course I'll help. Oh, yeah, I'd love to join that board. Oh, I'd love to. And then I think about it for a second. Jennifer, you do not have time. Yeah. So kind of the thing about the kids.
Yeah.
I said, Lauren, my husband's name is Lauren. Let's wait until later this year because if we were to conceive, I would like to give birth in Q4. Because in Q4, counting is a little bit slower.
Right.
So then starting in Q1, it gets gets really super busy. I think that makes more sense. People kind of laugh at me and they said, Jen, you can't plan it out that well, but I'm
you
gonna
can try.
I'm going to certainly try.
Yeah. Well, that's so funny.
TMI for the radio, huh?
Right, exactly. So, just thinking about the things that you've gone through, I would say that probably one of the barriers that you have had is having a partner that you are responsible to. Well, honestly, it doesn't seem like it's honestly always gone well for you. But I think you've learned things from that. And that in itself, the listeners here today, it's okay if you fail at things.
Right.
It really is. And, you have to take those risks. And that's one thing I think about entrepreneurship that a lot of people don't understand. You are going to have some significant dedication, and it's going to be sacrificing things. And most times that's your personal life. And, maybe it's putting things off like children or trips or whatever. But, certain things, you're going to have to put them off for a while. And, being able to prioritize that, I think, is an important thing. But also, saying, okay, now I'm ready to do this. I've achieved this. This is what I wanted to do. And now I'm going to go into the next phase. So, just thinking about that, I'm assuming that you're probably planning on growing the business a little bit more at some point in time. And so what does that look like? I mean, are you going to branch out and open more branches, or what do you think maybe that might look like?
Sure. We tend to hire about 25 people a year, 25 to 30. Currently, we are just under 70% women. Some amazing men on the team as well. But I would like to continue growing by 25 to 30 people every single year. I'm very comfortable growing a firm by 1 to 2 million in increased revenue every year. So the goal right now is in 2023 to do, between 11 and 12 million, and then just keep going from there. I do want to get an office up in Northern California, kind of Alameda, Contra Costa, Walnut Creek area. We're looking at doing that probably early next year is our goal on that. We do have a physical presence in Arizona. We've had that for 6 years. The entire Arizona office actually came with me during the partner split.
Oh, wow.
And so that was really nice to have the whole team literally got up and came with me. And so we've been in there for a while, and it's an okay market. It's not necessarily the best market for our services, but we've got some great people there, and maybe Colorado, maybe Utah. I don't know. Sky's the limit.
Well, I love to hear you say that. It's so encouraging. And, you mentioned a little bit about when you've learned things. So what do you think there are some lessons that you've learned, specifically that you could encourage other women to maybe implement in their lives and their careers?
I think one really important, I mentioned the equity. Obviously, be very careful with equity and who you partner with, and don't be too trusting. I think people want to assume everyone has a good nature about them. And as optimistic as I am, I've tended to be a little bit too trusting. So I think it's always just be cautiously optimistic. Be careful on who you get into business with and who you trust. And I think another really important something to focus on is be careful what you put into emails. Be careful what you put in writing. It could come back to you 10 years later, 5 years later, you just never know. And so be very careful what you want to say versus what you actually say in an email. It should be very different. You might want to say, God, you're such an idiot. Why aren't you listening? What's your malfunction? And instead, take a second. Hi, I hope you're having a nice day. I just wanted to clarify to make sure that you understood what we were, what the direction is. How can I help you? How can I help clarify things a little bit further? Is there anything I missed in my first set of communication? And so you're leaving it back to them to answer the question rather than saying right off the bat, hey, why didn't you listen? I told you to do this and you didn't do it. And so I think sometimes people jump down others' throats and they get very angry when it's much easier just to communicate more effectively with people to get a better result out of them. I think all too often people don't do that enough. Really, don't go focus so much on the profits and making a bunch of money right away. It's really about building the relationships. How can I nurture the relationships? How do I nurture my people? How do I develop my people? You can't do too much team building. You can't invest too much in team building. I don't think it's possible to invest too much in team building. So the closer you can get your management team aligned, and the more that you can do to focus on developing all the people under you, the better your business is going to run. And yes, it's a double-edged sword because you might not always have the money to develop people. You might not always have the money to do emotional intelligence training or doing all the DISC and the acumen training and building people together and aligning them. But you don't have the money not to.
Right. Yeah. You have to invest for sure.
Because a poor culture, it can take down a business. So.
Well, and you brought up something that really resonated with me, and that's the digital communication. I personally am very concerned about the things that people will say in social media, in emails, all of these things that they would never, ever say during a conversation. It's this emboldened, oh, you're no longer a person because I'm typing into a screen.
Yep.
And I'm concerned personally about that whole part of it. I prefer, and I don't do it all the time, but I prefer to actually have a conversation with people. Whenever yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Honestly, even face-to-face is even better right. Because you can't misunderstand what they're saying. Because I think a lot of times text messages, emails, they're social media for sure.
Yeah.
A tone can be completely misconstrued.
Yeah.
And, I think in younger people, we really need to cultivate that whole communication, interpersonal relationship, because it's very difficult when you're face to face with someone to really totally misunderstand what they're saying.
Right.
But by paper and email, it's so often done.
Right.
And So I love that you say, well, just, think about what you're going to say. I actually have a policy where if someone sends me a terse email, I will close it. I'll start responding. I'll close it and I'll keep coming back to it. Sometimes for days, if it's something that is really hurtful or, something they've said to me, because again, back to it feels like they're saying something that is very attackish. And I even think more during the pandemic, it's brought out a lot of very negative reaction in a lot of people that a lot of times is completely unfounded and doesn't make any sense. But, people are hurting. They really are hurting. And I think we as women have a real opportunity here to continue to lead people in a positive manner and turn things around. So I'm glad that you actually think about what you're going to say before you say it. So as far as your journey goes and where you are and all of the things that you have, gone through, what are you most passionate about, do you think, in just what you're doing and how you're doing it and what your brand might be?
I feel like what Optima offers right now and into the future, it helps small businesses make sure that they have accurate and timely financials and good information. And so we're making the strong businesses foundation stronger, and we're providing jobs to amazing people. So for me, it's such a win-win. I continue to provide 2 people a job a month, 2 new people. So we're hiring 25 people a year. We bring on about 10 new companies every single month with our services. And so I feel like it's just bettering the world. Yeah. I love that it's not a selfish business. It's not a greedy business. It's a, how can I help people? Let's make sure that everything's right and you have good information and great people and give people an opportunity. So, I get solicited at least once a week. Somebody wants to buy Optima. I had the same thing at my first company. Everyone wants to buy into the business. And it's not for sale. I don't know what else I would do. I love this. I love what I'm doing. I'm very passionate. It doesn't seem like work. It's kind of fun.
It's awesome. So what advice would you give to young women that are looking to become leaders?
I think it goes back to make sure you're developing the people around you and really focusing on the relationships. Take care of them. Understand that they look up to you. You're their boss. You're their employer. And so if you're having a bad day and you send them a mean email, that might ruin their entire week. And so just make sure that you're bringing the best that you can out of the team that you work with. And if they need help in any way, just listen. Try to listen. Try to take a step back. Take a deep breath. Take some time for yourself. And if you find that you're stressed out, go to a yoga class. If you're having a bad day, I mean, I've got a pretty decent sized team of people. If I'm having a bad day and I walk into the office in a bad mood, I'm throwing papers around, I slam my door, how do you think that affects the rest of my office?
Everyone.
Right. So I walk in with a smile. How's everybody doing? And if I need to shut my door, I'll shut my door. But you have to keep that perception as strong and optimistic as possible.
I was just going to say that. Yeah. You made me definitely think that. Well, and it's true. I mean, one person can affect everyone around them, and then it just kind of, it's like a domino effect. It really does affect everyone around you. And you know what? I agree with that 100%. I live my life trying to be very hopeful, optimistic, and cheerful, because everyone around you starts feeling that, and they start, of course, some people are not going to be affected by that because they want to be unhappy, but most people, there definitely are a few of them, but really in the big picture, 90% of people are going to react to positivity more than anything else. And so, if you're not being optimistic and you're not being positive and you're being very negative and Eeyore-ish, as I like to say, you'll affect all the people around them. And so thank you so much for sharing all of this. I really appreciate it. And you're optimistic, but you're also very positive too. And I think that is really important in life, and being a leader too, just affecting everyone around you in a positive manner. So anyway, thank you very much, Jennifer, for joining us and helping inspire young women to do something that maybe they wouldn't have the courage to do.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And, I'll add one quick point is if you've got that negative Nancy on your team, if you've got that onboard terrorist, as I like to call them, be quick to fire and slow to hire. So just take real careful consideration to who's affecting your culture. And one bad egg can affect so many people. And so you sit down, have a performance review with them, and if they don't change, you just got to get rid of them, even if you like the person. So people can be coachable, and just take the time to coach them, take the time to listen. But thank you so much for having me. And I know you and I could probably talk for the next hour.
Or so.
So we'll do that over a glass of wine one of these days.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Now that was powerful. We hope you've been lifted and encouraged by today's inspiring voice. Always remember that life doesn't look exactly the same for each one of us. Never stop dreaming, striving, and thriving. In future episodes, we look forward to bringing you powerful stories from amazing women who learn how to lead in to challenges. Thank you for listening and being part of our community with CEO host Rebecca Jones.
You have been listening to a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands. Find more stories at cloudcast.us.